All right, so like I said earlier, today is a very vocab-rich day. You have 3 new vocab terms. You have algebraic expression, you have terms, and you have variable. So the next one I'm going to talk about is coefficient. We have this one and one more coefficient. Okay, coefficient is a number that's attached to a variable or a number that's multiplied by a variable. So like up here where we had the example 5x, 5 is a coefficient because it's a number multiplied by a variable. Okay, I added to my definition to include division because sometimes your coefficient shows up as division, even if it's like still technically kind of multiplication. So again, I'm going to do an example. If I have 5x, this 5 is a coefficient. I'm going to circle it. If I have 13y, this 13 is a coefficient. If I have negative 21 theta, this 21 is a coefficient. Okay. Now there's a special rule about coefficients, and I'm going to write it over here. If you have a variable that doesn't have a coefficient, then the coefficient is 1. Then coefficient equals 1. So for example, if you just have the letter y, then there's a little hidden 1 right next to it because there's just one y there, so there's a hidden 1 hiding right next to that y. Okay. All right, here's our last new vocab term, and it is a constant. So we have algebraic expression, we have variable, we have coefficient, we have term, now we have constant. A constant is the number that doesn't have a variable attached to it with multiplication, or a number by itself without a variable. And as per usual, I'm going to give you an example. If I have like 5x plus 3, then 3 is the constant. Because it's all by itself, it doesn't have a variable attached to it. If I have something like 17y squared minus 2, then negative 2 is the constant because, again, it doesn't have a variable attached to it. If I have something like 2/3 z plus 10, then 10 is my constant. Again, it's whatever number doesn't have a variable next to it. It's the number without a variable attached to it. Okay? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to put them all together, and we're going to break it down into the pieces. So we'll start with 5p plus 4. Okay? In 5p plus 4, we have an algebraic expression. So this whole thing is an algebraic expression. Now, what are the terms in 5p plus 4? So the terms are this piece and this piece. These are each terms. So if I wrote terms, I would say 5p and 4. Okay, the second vocab word that we learned was variable. So what are the variables in this? Variables. Variables are letters or symbols. So p is a variable here. So if I were to write variables, p is the variable. I don't see any other letters or symbols, so variable p is the only variable. Now what about coefficients? Coefficients, let's do blue. Coefficients, remember, are the numbers that are attached to the variable. So we know p is the variable. The number that's attached to the variable is this 5. So I know that 5 is the coefficient. And the last thing that we talked about just now is constants. Constant. And I know that the constant is by itself, which means 4 is the constant. Okay, so then that's how we break down an algebraic expression.